Hi, Mike. Just checking that we can hear you. Yeah, that we can hear you and see you okay. You said you were rebooting, so hopefully you're back up
I'm
and
working on
running.
an old computer that can barely handle anything because I'm rebuilding my good one.
So,
So everything
so talking and PowerPoint at the same time could be ambitious, right?
there's always that.
I guess we're about good to go, right? We had a quick 2 minute comfort break because we saw that you were just sort of rebooting your computer or rewinding it up.
Yep.
Mike, if you're good to go, hopefully Gustavo has made you a. Yes, you have been made a co-host. So if you, I presume you have slides, if you'd like to try and share those with us, and I can give you the briefest of introductions, which is basically to say the next speaker is Mike Simmons. He'll be speaking to us for 20 minutes, let's say 18 minutes time. I'll probably jump in and start asking him to wind up. And he's going to be telling us about astronomy for equity and talking especially about something that was mentioned, I know, this morning and probably mentioned a few times, which is looking at the unserved communities within our
Yep.
groups. The floor is yours, Mike. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, and let me double check. I'm watching my clock. Okay. Because I will go on for hours and hours and frequently do if I'm not stopped.
You really
So
won't. You really won't.
no.
Gustavo will give you about plus 2 minutes, and then after that, he starts to get quite grouchy. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I will do that. So okay, so I've talked about Astronomy for Equity before. It's my newest initiative, and the basic idea is I'll get into what the purpose is, but this is unserved communities. You know, we always talk about the underserved communities, and there are underserved communities in the United States that are not doing as well as others. But compared to those, for example, on the screen right now in rural Kenya, they're doing pretty well. They have, you know, not as well as we'd like, but they have access to some programs and they have possibilities and opportunities. But there are people, the vast majority of people, students, children around the world do not have access to any of these things. So I'm referring to them now as unserved because they've really got nothing. It's important that we consider them as well. And people want to reach them. All my partners say, yeah, but we don't have any reach there. So I've had the opportunity to do this for a long time, and I have the ability to make some of these happen. And I'm going to talk about some of the programs that we're going to be doing here. So the biggest resource that those who know me know that I'm big on using existing resources. And the biggest resource we have is the amateur astronomy community does outreach around the world. I'm one of those. I started organizing things locally almost 50 years ago and then internationally 25 years ago. And we can do things with passionate volunteers that we can't otherwise do at all. And these are just some pictures. These are all, I think, from the 100 Hours of Astronomy Cornerstone Project or the International Year of Astronomy in 2009, where we had probably 1 million people look through telescopes in one night just using these volunteers. This is a telescope that I actually took to northern Iraq, Iraqi Kurdistan during the war there actually, and being used for that night. And here, an identical telescope somewhere in the Andes with the native people there, in Kathmandu. And that I could see from the timestamp was not in 2009, it was earlier, but it's all the same idea. In India, in Iran, in Romania. And this is why these people do it. This is why we do it, because it's such a rush to see something like this. It's fantastic. And we just want to share what we've discovered with other people, in this case, a special H alpha telescope for the sun. And everybody wants to share this because it's so cool. So here's a young girl in Brazil sharing with her doll. Now, we use astronomy to improve lives and communities through STEM education around the world. We're a small community, and most people don't know what's going on. And I'll get into how we're going to fix that very soon here. But just some examples that many of you may know. This container is a STEM education center in a refugee camp in northern Nigeria, where the kids are just the same as kids anywhere else, and they're having a good time here. It's all based on astronomy. And as you can see from things around there, the same organization also does STEM camps for girls in Nigeria, very paternalistic society. They don't realize that they can do science. They're not kept from it, as they're discouraged in a lot of places, but they don't even think of it. It's just not necessarily for them. This is a middle school astronomy club in a school in Libya, and there's a national organization there. I've sent telescopes to, and they have distributed them out to these astronomy clubs in these different places. This is a place where, of course, there's been war, there's been ISIS, there's still political unrest with two different competing governments nationally. So this is an opportunity for them. There are astro buses like this one in Ethiopia that exist in a lot of places to take astronomy out to the places where they don't have the opportunity to go into the cities and take advantage of the programs that are available to others. There's a lot of that, but there are a lot of communities that are still excluded. We just don't reach out far enough to them. And this is the idea of equity, which I think I don't need to explain to the people here. Equality, give everybody a box there so that they can get up and look over the fence. But some people just it's not enough. They need more of a boost to have the same opportunity to see things. So equity is not about giving them something, it's about giving them the same opportunities as everybody else. And that's it. One of the excluded communities we'll be working with here is the blind and low vision people. This is in India. There are a lot of resources available for this. Things such as this, these are tactile. This is homemade here. You can see the pins put into the star maps. There are things that exist that are manufactured, some such as this tactile material. This is called 2.5D because it's flat, but it's textured so that you can feel it. Then there's 3D, which requires 3D printing or something like that. And there are lots of expensive ways of doing these things, but they're not necessary. Not everybody's going to be able to have this special printer that is able to create these things. As a swell paper printer. And this one's actually being used at a star party to create images that are tactile so the blind people can feel them. But these are examples of homemade, where you take a picture of the moon, you put glue on it, so outlining the features there, or stick some stars on a piece of paper to show the constellations, or a piece of yarn with pins to show a graph. These are all tactile. This is a planetarium. Don Noreen Grice there, the guru of astronomy for the blind. Under a tent or something else, this is with some tactile things put there. Hoops to show the orbital inclinations. A little bit more involved one here, but showing how light hits the Earth, how the Earth goes through seasons and so on. These things are all available. Many of them do it yourself. There's a whole repository of these things. So why is nobody using these things? Why is astronomy for the blind still something that when I talk to people about it, they go, what? It makes no sense. It's because they don't know about it. The problem is that the amateur astronomers want to do this, but when they learn about it, it's something new to them. They've never heard of it before. And they want to get involved. The problem is they don't know how to get started. So we started this outreach community, and it's getting a restart on Slack. If you're interested, you can email me there and you'll get an invitation for it. But you can see here that there are people all over the world, and half of them have stuff that they want to share with everybody else, and they don't even know what other people are doing. So this is an example of using the resources that we have existing already. This is one that I don't think I've ever talked about this publicly, and I don't know if even my partners that are in this meeting know about this. But we just had a big solar eclipse here in the United States. There were probably 100 million eclipse glasses manufactured for this, distributed it all through the country. And these things, these glasses are something which I've sent to other countries, like here in Uganda, Afghanistan, uh, and Tanzania, and most recently in the lower left, some that I handed off to students in Mozambique recently, starting a new astronomy uh, society there for the first time. And there were a lot left over this time. People over manufactured them, unlike 2017. So I asked around, and so far I've collected 1 million of them, 1 million brand new unused eclipse glasses. And I say so far because I haven't approached even one of the major manufacturers and others yet. We had to get storage facilities and so on. These are things that are invaluable to people in other places. People have never looked at the sun. I don't think I'm going to go through all of this here, but the idea is to distribute these to national organizations. We're creating with education partners simple lessons, talking about a page, maybe 2 pages with the things available online. Public outreach level here. This is not high level education because remember the schools in these places, most of the teachers have no science experience or many of them. The places we're trying to reach into. And the science teachers have really very rudimentary science educations themselves. So we start with the very basic level, like what is the sun? What is sunlight? Uh, how is the sun like the other stars? What happens when sunlight hits the earth? Why is the sun important to us? I mean, who thinks about that? It's kind of obvious, and we know the answer to that. But people going about their daily lives in most of the world don't think about that. And then we get to solar energy, climate change, all the different things that are involved in that. So there are a million ways to expand on that. But after getting these free glasses out to other places, we can also get other materials like solar material for the telescopes that are there. Uh, maybe we'll raise money for some more telescopes, like I've done for many countries already. Little diffraction gratings. People do use CDs. I have a spectroscope that was made for the SDO, Solar Dynamics Observatory in orbit, and I have that design, and it uses these little gratings, but you don't even need that. Um, and then potentially more expensive resources we can get available. But the main idea is to get something into the hands of people that have nothing, not to add more to the people that already have something, but to give some exposure to people. So now on to Ukraine. This is again a country in crisis, and I was contacted by a colleague who said that the astronomy students there wanted to get telescopes because their power goes out and they have dark skies. So here's an example of that: January 2022 and 23, uh, some big cities. And so we raised money, sent telescopes over there. They have them now. It's only a few of them. And here's an example of one. You can see this classroom is really big on astronomy. This one is in Venezia, in the middle of the country, uh, and they're doing a great job with what they have. And this is not really a poor area here. They're just limited in many other ways because they're living in a war zone now. So what we have decided to do is we're going to be going to Ukraine in November. Dean Love will be going along making a documentary film. This is a picture of one of the telescopes that we sent over there. And I will be going with some other astronomers. Mirjana Povic, many of you know from Ethiopia, will be there for a while, and we've got others that will be going along as well. They're really looking forward to having somebody visit them, in particular astronomers that are involved in what they're doing. There's a great deal happening there that I don't have time to go into now. And this is meant, now this is part of just a slide deck, so I'm not going to read all this, and it's probably too much for you to read while it's there, but I'll give the idea, the big impact astronomy. If anybody wants this deck, you can contact me. There's more to it, as well as sponsorship deck. this is a podcast about the people who are doing all these things. People ask, why spend money on astronomy? Well, these are pictures from Kenya here, and the reason for doing it is all these things that are done that I'm describing, the things that we're working on, and people don't know about it. Most of the people in astronomy don't know all the things that are going on there. So these are podcasts with these people who, to me, are really heroes who are doing this work on the front lines. We have here's Mariana from Ethiopia. She works in a lot of different areas, especially with students in crisis. She grew up during the Balkan Wars in Serbia herself. There are a lot of reasons why astronomy inspires people, all the things that you know, but these stories need to be told. There are hundreds of people doing things like this. The Nepal Astronomical Society, of course, uh, doing this in Nepal and in places around the country, and Olayinka in Nigeria with the some of the pictures that I showed you already and the things that they are doing there. Uh, Yumna Majid in Pakistan. And I love this picture. I love all these pictures, but this picture of Yumna talking to some young girls after a class where she gave a presentation, and they just didn't want her to leave. And if you look at the faces of these girls Yumna's in Lahore, so I assume they're near there, and they're so pleased to meet somebody that's a role model for them. So astronomy, all the different things that we are missing about astronomy, it is all the things that we were missing in terms of education and opportunities in a lot of ways, astronomy can provide them, and we can show how that is done and why that is done. This is not just for the astronomy community, this is for mainstream media, for people to see places around the world where this is being done. This is just about ready to launch, and we're getting some sponsors for it now. If anybody knows anybody you'd like to sponsor it, of course, let me know. And this is my email address for anybody that's interested. These programs, well, the one using sunlight with the eclipse glasses and so on is not even on the website yet. Uh, but that one is coming along very nicely. And the others need to be updated. We're just resource limited, as most of us are. But this you can see something about these there, and best contact me if you are interested. I'm going to stop the share and just say that that this is the whole basis for all of these things. They might seem like, well, this is amazing. They're big things and so on. This is free stuff. I mean, by comparison with what people are doing, spending millions of dollars for some of these things, the glasses are free. We need to spend money to ship in the real world. We'll put things online. The volunteers are out there doing these things already. The problem is not having enough resources. The problem is distribution. And we don't need to keep reinventing the wheel, reinventing a new kind of wheel, a high-tech wheel. We just need to make sure everybody has access to the wheels that they need. And so all of these are doing that. They're very high return on investment, but because there are people out there doing this already. And like a lot of the people that I know who are in this conference right now, doing it because they're passionate about it. So we can do better. We just have to reach a little bit farther, and we can reach everybody. And the whole question of borders and so on, which is a fascinating conversation, whether they're there or not, there are ways to reach across them, whether it's cultural, language, geopolitical, or something else. And we can do better at that. And that's everything we're aiming to do here. And Fraser, I think that's it for me. How did I do?
Mike, I have a feeling we probably should have let you have those hours, because that was quite spectacular. The list of
Yeah.
countries, the places, the ways and means. I can see Rosa nodding as well. Rosa probably and you should get together and have a conversation about countries in broader sense because you've
We
pretty
have
much
many
covered,
times.
yeah,
Yeah,
you've pretty
and we
much
just
covered the lot.
yeah.
I don't know. We could probably stretch to a minute if there are any questions. Rosie, were you looking to come in and ask us some questions,
I
or were
want
you
to.
going
I
to?
have a question.
Yeah, go for
Mm,
it.
Mike, about the solar eclipse glasses,
yes.
because we'll have in 27 total eclipse that will pass through North Africa mostly, also
Yes.
here from the Iberian Peninsula. So these are probably the people from North Africa, probably a good target for these.
Yes.
Are you
And
working
I
on that already? Do you have
yeah,
anything?
yeah, yeah. And I was in Morocco for the African Astronomical Society meeting earlier this year. I will probably be in Algeria. I have good friends there in Tunisia. But one of the things that everyone comes back to and that I want to emphasize is this program is not about eclipses. And that's the thing. I have sent eclipse glasses all over the world. And people look at the eclipse with them, and what happens after that? Nothing. There's no education necessarily. There's nothing built on. Uh, I collected a huge amount of used glasses in 2017, which was a disaster and won't be done again. But these are all brand new. But there's more that we can do because you see the pictures of the kids using them, they're just fascinated. They're seeing the sun for the first time. It's all of those questions that we get, like, is the sun a planet or a star? You know, people don't know that. I mean, there's so much that can be done just by saying, hey, look at that, you know, something you've never seen before. The sunlight's falling all around you. So this is not about eclipses, but obviously the eclipses are a huge inspiration, and there's huge efforts done in the United States, and I've been a part of those. But after the eclipse is over, everybody says that was cool and goes home, and that's the end of it. So that's one of my pet peeves, you know, is like do something good and then don't move on, just build on that. We're building foundations for buildings all over the place and nobody's building the walls. You know, we can do better than that. So this is really, I figured 2 years to bring all these resources into many places around the world.
2 years feels like a dramatic improvement. I think Lucas was talking in his last talk about 10 years or 20 years. So yeah, if we can start doing things in 2 years, that would be great.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're ready to start shipping these things
Sure.
now, and I'm always very impatient. I want to get things done right now, and I'm quite a bit older than Lucas is, so I don't have that kind of time. I want to get on with it. I mean, I
Yeah,
just like to get things done.
Mike, that's fantastic talk. I think we have the basis for a roundtable in a future GHU to discuss sort of best practice and top tips and all the routes that we can all the resourcefulness that you've shown and that others in the room I'm sure have as well. We should move on to Alan, who's been waiting very patiently. We're running